Caitlin Clark may be out injured, but the vibe's still very high at WNBA All-Star Weekend. She's still a topic of conversation with the festivities being in Indianapolis, but a constant theme has been about just how big the presence is here, how many people are here, how much attention is around the game. Now, some of the subject of attention are Clark's injury and her being out and, helping Sandy Brondello out as a coach for Team Caitlin Clark in the WNBA All-Star game. Of course, Brondello, the coach of the New York Liberty, but the WNBA CBA negotiations loom as a topic of conversation as well. There was the big meeting. So many players were asked about that. The big sticking points for them, according to Nafisa Collier, revenue and salary, of course, revenue share, that is. And then there is the officiating, which I asked Kelsey Plum about, who said she just wants it to be consistent. A foul is a foul, whether it is early in the game or in the fourth quarter, but lots of storylines surrounding the All-Star festivities. Here's some of the stuff I was able to capture myself, either through my questions or what I recorded. As I mentioned, Caitlin Clark being out, a story. Sabrina Ionescu was the first player I saw do media, and she had this to say.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're good friends. Like, I've been able to talk to her a lot kind of through this, process. And honestly, I've kind of went through something similar in my career. I mean, my first year I didn't play due to injury, and then second year I had like 3 to 4 soft tissue injuries that I was dealing with. And it's kind of you look back and it's a blessing in disguise, because you're able to just learn and grow and understand it's all part of your journey, and you just got to continue to figure out what you need in a pro career. And so just trying to be that kind of soundboard for her and that voice, having gone through something kind of similar. And knowing obviously it's really unfortunate that we don't have her, but she means a lot more to the game than just showing up and playing. And I think you're able to see that with just the excitement in Indy right now, regardless of if she's playing or not.
Obviously, a classy response from Sabrina there, who will be participating in the three-point shootout, but not against Caitlin Clark. That was a highly anticipated event. Her coach talked. I mentioned that before. I asked Sandy Brondello about Caitlin Clark and her possible role as a quasi, I guess you would say, assistant coach, right? That's been part of the talk, and Caitlin even said it was a role she was looking forward to. Here is part of the New York Liberty head coach's response once I get it queued up here. Sorry, on the fly in Gainbridge Fieldhouse, and doing it as smooth as I possibly can for y'all out there. Here was Sandy Brondello, who, by the way, always gives the best responses, always has the best demeanor. Coach, obviously Caitlin Clark out of the game, but she's expressed her desire to help you out. From the coaching perspective, have you gotten anything about maybe her traits as a coach?
Yeah, not yet. No, obviously unfortunate about Caitlin's not into this game, but she's going to still have a great impact on this team. I will give the coaching hat to her as much as she wants, to be quite honest. So, we're going to play around with it a little bit. It'll be fun to I think you've seen it with the Fever. She's been very active on the sideline when she wasn't playing, so we'll utilize that as well.
That was the head coach of the New York Liberty and the head coach of Team Caitlin Clark in the WNBA All-Star game. Kelsey Mitchell talked about Lexi Hull replacing Caitlin Clark, because it will be Hull who will be participating in Clark's absence in the three-point shootout. Another one I asked. Kelsey, what did you make of Lexi Hull taking Caitlin Clark's spot in the three-point contest?
I'm just, on a serious note, I think that Lexi deserves it. I think that CC's dope for making sure that happened, or the WNBA for that matter, I don't know. And I think that for the Fever, it's just a good way to represent and have someone that, this city loves, and who Lexi is on the floor just kind of represents who we want to embody for our three-point contest. So it's fun, and I hope she represents as well. Have a great day.
That was Kelsey Mitchell, who, was really into her availability there. Kelsey had a great energy about her when talking. The CBA, again, though, a constant topic of conversation. One of the biggest names in the league, Angel Reese, opened her availability being asked about it, and I would say sent a strong message.
Yeah, yesterday was my first meeting in person, and being able to have the opportunity to see face-to-face with the league. I think it was very important to have all those players there, more than 40, and just being able to see our faces, because we are about business. It's bigger than me. no player is less important than me or more important than me. We are all here to fight for the same thing and what we deserve. Basketball and WNBA is all I know. And this is the league I love so much. And we're not going to stop until we get exactly what we want. And yesterday's meeting really woke me up to the eyes of we aren't getting what we deserve. And knowing that for a long time and knowing over the past years the numbers that they were giving us, I'm like, wow, like I didn't know all this stuff. And now being able to be informed, knowing I can be more vocal because I do know more, and being able to have NECA as our president and have so many great players that have representation that know a lot and know what we deserve is just really important. So I'm really happy to be a part of that meeting yesterday, but it did wake me up to a lot of things that I didn't know that was going on.
Now, to be fair, I've seen a lot of these CBA negotiations in various sports. Usually deadlines spur action, so we'll see what happens as we get closer. There was one other question I really wanted to ask somebody, and maybe I'll ask somebody else, but I thought Kelsey Plum was a good person to ask because I've seen her talk about it before, and obviously she's one of those players who would be affected the most by perimeter physicality in the way that the game is officiated. The officiating and the amount of contact that's allowed on the perimeter has been a topic of conversation. It was brought up on the ESPN broadcast. It's been a gripe from you, from Becky Hammond, from Stephanie White. What do you see as the biggest issue there and how it could be resolved?
I'm grateful you asked this. Yeah. I have no problem with the physicality. I think people are getting frustrated at the consistency. So it's like a ticky-tack here, and then someone gets absolutely assaulted over here. And like, where's the line? And when do we call it? And why do we call it? And I also think too, like a lot of teams specifically play me very physical, which I get just to try to like wear me down throughout the game. But a foul is a foul. So a foul in the first quarter is a foul in the fourth quarter. And so it's like, hey, if you're not going to call it in the first, that's fine, but don't call it in the fourth. Or let me guard them that way that they guard me. And so I think that just the officiating across the board, people have been frustrated with the lack of consistency. And so that I do think that the refs, similar to a player, like if I don't play well and I'm being evaluated, I'm penalized for that. As a ref, they're not as penalized as we are. They don't get necessarily like a, it's like, oh, we review it, but like those 3 calls change the game, and like that's it. And so I think it's part of our sport. You have to be resilient and accept it, but at the same time, I think they have to also grow, and the communication between the league, like the NBA comes out and says like, hey, in the fourth quarter with these 2 calls, we missed both of these. I think that's really important for our league to grow in terms of its integrity, because like it should be like, hey, listen, the Alyssa Thomas with the Valkyries, like that's not a foul.
Yeah, right.
Come out and say it.
Right.
I think that's important.
So that was what Kelsey Plum had to say. A lot of people liking that answer I saw. And there you have your WNBA All-Star report live from Gainbridge Fieldhouse.